welcome to the Snap UK podcast via Skype with our faces and everything. Hello, everybody. I'm delighted that I'm here and I only had to throw the iPad once. We will continue to try and bring you our opinions and perspectives on the NFL, despite the fact we can't meet each other and we may no longer be friends in 12 weeks' time. So, gentlemen, everybody keeping well and safe from the apocalypse?
No.
Yeah.
I haven't left the house for 2 weeks.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, it's quite impressive that none of my children have been killed yet. So let's say that as a bonus and move on.
Excellent. Okay, well, we'll take that as a good place to break that off. There's only really one place to start, which is today's news that Cam Newton has finally been released by the Panthers. So what does this mean for the Panthers? And more importantly, where do we think Cam is going to end up? Because he will be in the league next year.
We need to think firstly about the tailors around the Carolina area and the drop in business they're going to have now. Nobody thought about this.
This
Nobody
is
thought about the economic impact.
Yeah, it's a massive local industry, which is literally just going to go down the tube now that he's obviously going to leave Carolina. And I agree with Paul. No, everyone's looking at this from a football point of view, and everyone's forgetting about the bigger story, which is the tailors.
Tailors, dressmakers, hat makers,
hat makers, cigar, shops, that type of thing. Anyway,
the superheroes don't have a villain to fight now in Carolina.
Of course, none of you have taken into account the fact that, as far as we know, Teddy Bridgewater wears dresses Wednesdays and Fridays. Just saying. You've got to bear that in mind.
I did say dressmakers.
But Teddy Bridgewater doesn't dress like an absolute moron to press conferences, does he?
No, you're quite correct. He doesn't. Right, let's take it seriously. Jim, lead us off.
So, from a footballing point of view, they made their ambitions quite clear in terms of kind of signing Teddy Bridgewater to a 3-year deal. You don't sign a quarterback like Bridgewater and keep it someone like Cam on the bench. So it was obvious this was going to happen. They were trying to trade him, I think, right from the off, and they couldn't find anyone to dance with. So it's only right that he's been cut. Now, where is he going to go? Well, that's anyone's question. I'd love to see him with the Patriots just to piss you off, Griff, but I actually think it's going to be the Chargers. There were rumours that the Chargers were interested in a trade earlier on in the season. Obviously, with his fitness issues and with the inability to actually have a health test now because of coronavirus and no one can travel anywhere, it's going to be really difficult for anyone to kind of come to a long-term agreement with him. But the Chargers, I think you got Tyrod Taylor there. They're similar types of quarterbacks in terms of running, scrambling quarterbacks. And, you might as well go there and be that star power for an LA franchise that's not pulling in the fans.
I've got him down as going to Jacksonville. I think you go and put him there and let him see if there's anything left in the legs and the shoulder. And if not, you go back to Minshew Mania.
I have him going down to the Raiders because he's showbiz, isn't he? And they want showbiz in Las Vegas. Derek Carr ain't showbiz. Derek Carr is insurance salesman.
I would take Derek Carr.
So I agree with, I think it's between Paul and Jim, actually. I think, Griff, yours is just, that would be too sensible a move for the Jags to do.
Fair enough.
They're not even that clever. So I think he's either going to Chargers or the Raiders. I think they both have
It's true.
The Chargers have a proper need, and the Raiders just don't want Derek Carr. So it's got to be one of those two teams for me. I think it's definitely going to be between the Chargers and the Raiders. And the problem is, basically, the Panthers couldn't get any business done before they took Teddy, and they couldn't get two teams to buy afterwards. They were trying to get some sort of draft capital for him, and they just didn't manage to. And we all know Jonathan's a tiny cock, so that wasn't even that funny.
There's nothing new there. I can't see him going to the Jags. I seriously think the Jags are tanking for this season. They're after Trevor Lawrence next year. They'll risk it and go with Gardner Minshew just for a bit of entertainment value, but I don't think they really believe that he's a quarterback of the future.
If that's the case, then I just want this league to be gone from coronavirus completely. I don't want to see him again.
I'd quite like the whole world to be gone.
Well, you want the whole season voided just because of Gardner Minshew?
Yeah. That's how much I hate him.
Hasn't Rio Ferdinand called for that today in the Premier League? Just void it so Liverpool don't get the title.
Oh, blatantly, yeah.
They're like, no bias there at all. Obviously.
Not at all, no.
But there were a number of times when we got to the Super Bowl, and because the Patriots are in it, let's just agree the AFC and the NFC champions are all right. You've both won.
I'll be all right with that. I'm fine with that.
Well, the big question that I deliberately put on your running order is, does anyone pin the loss of the Super Bowl to the Broncos firmly on Cam for not recovering the fumble?
No.
You don't think he should have jumped in?
I mean, yeah, he should have jumped in, but
They were one score down. They were one.
No, it's 1 point in the game. I think they would have lost even if he jumped on it anyway. They were beaten in that game. That defense showed up that day.
I don't know. I think it shows that he's just not the big leader that he should be. I thought that was the turning point for his career right there. It's just not someone you'd want to rely on in that spot.
I think, he had some players around him at that point, but he didn't have loads of superstars around him. He did basically take that team to a Super Bowl. He had some good weapons on defense, but there wasn't much on offense when he took them to a Super Bowl. And he was, league MVP. I think we're being a bit harsh on Cam. He's only, 30?
Yeah, about that.
So he's only 30 years old. I think, actually, he will land at a credible team and he'll have a credible shot of doing something again in the league. If he can stay fit, it's all about injuries for Cam. I don't think
that's the big one.
Not talented.
It's career over as far as I'm concerned. I think the body is done, and whichever team he ends up on, they're not going to be competing. He'll be out
the man who sacked Sean Payton 2 years ago.
Yeah, that's true. But I'm willing to back myself. I'm also the man who this time last year said Ryan Tannehill would finish the season as the quarterback for the Titans, and they'd be a better team with him. And I was right. So I'm going to go with this. I think Cam will be out of the league after the next 2 years.
I disagree.
Yeah, I completely disagree.
I think there's always going to be someone willing to take a chance on a previous MVP, someone who's taken a team to the Super Bowl, and rightly said, with poor offensive weapons. This is a guy who got to the Super Bowl with Jonathan Stewart as a running back.
Jonathan Stewart was a good running back.
They have CJ Anderson as well, Paul.
1,000-yard rushing, 3-time Super Bowl playing CJ Anderson.
He was at the Broncos.
Yeah, he was that's where he won his Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So basically, Carolina didn't stand a chance because CJ Anderson was on the team.
CJ Anderson.
Right.
He's in free agency.
It's the body, isn't it, for Cam? Can it cope with a full season?
El McPherson.
2 seasons now where he's been unfit, and he is playing for his career, I think.
Yeah, I'm with John. Yeah.
He is, but at the same time, like the last 2 injuries he's had, he's tried to play through, which probably aggravated that a little bit more. I think this time him and the physical fitness team at Carolina got the message that he can't carry on playing. He was out and he's rested. I think if he comes back in a decent condition, I think he's in the league for another 3 to 5 years.
So what do we think of the signing of PJ Walker from the XFL to back up Teddy Bridgewater?
He's exciting, but
he had 3 years as a practice squad / backup at the Colts, and then threw 15 touchdowns in the first 5 games for the XFL. That's the full extent of his. Does anyone glean anything from that at all?
No, he's going to be a backup, isn't he? I mean, it's the XFL. The quality is, it's entertaining, but the quality is not great. He's had a shot before about backing up Andrew Luck. He couldn't even get into backup position. So even when Andrew Luck was injured, yeah, whatever.
I suppose the question really is then geared towards the second half of that, which is, does he go into the structure ahead of or behind Paul's favourite Will Greer?
I'd have Will Greer starting personally. That's a top 10 draft pick.
I think he is. I think he will go in behind Will Greer to start with.
I think he's a better player than Will Greer.
Will Greer's been in that system for the last year, hasn't he? Learning the playbook. So I know it's all changed, but
the whole thing is going to be new. There's a whole new coaching team there. So,
but Philip Walker played for Matt Rule in college, didn't he? At Temple.
Yeah.
He did 4 years in that system, so I think he has a serious advantage over Will Greer and probably a lot of other players that could go in there. He's not going to be on the field very much, providing Teddy stays fit. But let's not forget, Bridgewater's not that far removed from being crippled himself.
Yeah.
There's a
It's
good Panthers back up at that point.
Yeah, and that kind of makes the decision to get rid of Carl Allen a bit more mysterious in a sense, because now you've got Teddy Bridgewater and you've got behind him two pretty untested quarterbacks at the NFL level. At least if they would have kept Carl Allen, who's been traded away now, they would have kept him.
I think what Jim's trying to say is
Jim's like
wrist.
Somebody talk over him quick.
I think what Jim's trying to say is Will Greer is a top 10 draft pick, and he completely agrees.
I'm not sure that's what he's trying to say. Where has Carl Allen landed? Where did Carl Allen land?
Redskins.
At the Redskins. Yeah. Okay, so further down the running order, you'll see that we're coming to that later. So just keep that aside, because I think that trade is very interesting for what's happening at the Redskins, and clearly Ron Riviera, as John likes to call him, wanted some sort of continuation of his system from the Panthers. I'm glad you brought your cough with you again. You got your pussy puffer? Excellent stuff. Don't forget to take it. Stay safe, stay warm. We all know you're endangered. People with AIDS are not allowed out during COVID-19, so just saying.
Don't have AIDS. It's called asthma.
It's all very similar. Right, next up on your running order then, if you turn your attention to that, we need to carry on with the fallout from the Tom to Tampa story. So let's address Tampa Bay first. Robert Kraft took out a one-page ad thanking Tom Brady for his service and asking Tampa Bay to look after him, which actually I thought was a really classy thing to do from an organisation which sometimes doesn't necessarily make the best moves in terms of class. I thought that was good.
That's very classy from a man who allegedly solicited prostitutes. A very classy man
who came out apparently this week and said Tom left because he didn't want to stay.
I mean, yeah, obviously.
Because I listened to some of the Brady interview this afternoon.
Yeah.
And I think he just wants to be somewhere where he's got the opportunity to play football, really.
I think you've got to go back to when the Patriots won the last Super Bowl, and he was asked directly afterwards, do you feel appreciated by your team? And he said, I'll plead the fifth. And it's always been the same. He's never felt appreciated by Belichick. He's just another player in the system. And I think this was always coming. And I've said for a long time, and you will back me up, I think it was time for him to go. And I'm not disappointed. I think it's the right move. What we do after that, that's open for another discussion. But it's the right time to move on, and I wish him success.
I think it's definitely open for discussion, being as you've got and signed Brian Hoyer.
I left that open for you. I have zero problem with the sign.
I knew you were going to start bashing on about how he won you a Super Bowl by playing the system behind closed doors and replicating another team. That means absolutely shit all. I'm sorry. The guy was terrible. Like, he's not been able to be a starter anyway. He has tried it before, and not succeeded. On at least 2 occasions. He tried to be the starter for the Browns. He tried to be the starter for the Niners. And both those teams finished. And who else? Texans as well. Well, the Browns definitely finished with the first pick. And the Niners finished up with the second pick after he was the starting quarterback. So, I know you were disappointed that you only, got to the divisional or the wild card last year, but it's going to get worse.
Let me just defend him a little bit. Now, he was terrible at the Niners, and you're right to be disappointed with what he did. But they did lose, I think, 3 of the 4 games where he was under centre. They lost by 1 score, and he just wasn't able to elevate the team in the way Jimmy G was and the way the system did. At the Texans, he actually played really well, got into the playoffs, and then had one of the worst playoff performances anyone's ever seen. Didn't he throw 4 first-half interceptions?
Oh, yeah.
Sounds like something he would do.
He was pretty terrible. And with the Browns, they won 5 or 6 games in a row and nearly made the playoffs. They didn't finish with the number 1 pick that year. That was the year they followed that up. No, that was the year they'd taken Johnny Manziel, and he kept Manziel from being the starter.
Right. That's not saying much, though, is it, Griff?
Yeah, but that's not an achievement,
it was a prize pick.
He went to there, and they weren't the number 1 overall pick.
Well, I'm just defending what Gary's saying. All his best career...
It's saying a lot for the Browns.
We're doing the same thing that we always do with the Patriots. Patriots. We're doing the same thing we always do with the Patriots, where this is the end of the franchise, everything's going downhill. He's got a plan. Something will happen.
But
Jarrett Stidham is not the starter. Brian Hoyer is not the starter.
Look, I know you say that, but there are 31 other teams with billionaire owners as well. And I know they don't have Belichick, but they all have checkbooks. They all have a plan. You know, they all have a plan, don't they? So I'm not sure that's the case. You know, I'm not sure that Belichick in this day and age can get players to go to New England on the cheap to win a Super Bowl now. What's the guarantee for that now? That changes the dynamic. Would I go to the Chiefs now on the cheap? Most definitely. Yeah, but would I go to the Patriots? Nah, you're all right, thanks.
There's still cachet with Belichick.
They've got enough equity on the Patriots. They can have a couple of down years and still attract players into that system. They've won so much.
Not on the cheap anymore.
But players want rings, then they leave. Jim, have you just walked us through into the toilet with you?
No, I haven't. I walked into a different room because the signal's a bit dodgy in that room.
It felt a bit like we were going to experience something new there that John's recording, and I'm not sure he should be.
It could be a first for the Snap UK podcast.
Off screen.
Do you know what? I'm going to say this. I think Jarrett Stidham is the starter, and I'm absolutely perfectly comfortable with it.
There's no way he starts ahead of Hoyer. I think Hoyer's your starter.
Absolutely. He beat Hoyer out last preseason. He will start ahead of Brian Hoyer.
I mean, that's like saying Hoyer beat Manziel out. Come on.
I'm just saying, I think Jarrett Stidham is worth evaluating, and they'll give him 8 games and see. And then we might tank for Trevor as well.
I think it's going to go badly, and they're going to go rushing off, like cap in hand to Jameis. That's how I see it. Like, it's going to go so badly that, you know, like Hoyer going to turn up in one of them dodgy blue suits that he wears as well. Yeah, he's going to look bad, and he's just going to be bad, and you're going to go run into Jameis, going, Jameis, we'll try and sort out the interceptions. Just please come.
Jim, you watch more college football than the rest of us. That's fair.
Yeah.
The year before Stidham was drafted, was he not the 3rd ranked overall quarterback in the country when he was in his first year at Auburn?
Okay, I don't know, Griff. I don't watch that much college football. But he wasn't.
He had 2 years at Auburn. He had 2 years at Auburn because of the transfer. And I think the first year he was ranked, he would have been 3rd overall had he actually gone into the draft. And he stayed and then had a terrible year where the team had lost all its players in the draft. And he only threw 1 touchdown more than he threw interceptions. He had a bad year. And I think you're more likely to get the earlier version of him, now he's been coached for a year by the Patriots, than the where he went in the draft, which was, 120 or something.
Yeah, but they're saying that he throws a lovely ball. We talked about this last week. But who is he throwing that ball to?
Well, potentially no one. Edelman's making noises about going to Tampa, isn't he?
Well, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's all right saying, we're going to start with Stidham, we're going to start to... Well, Hoyer can throw the ball to, you know, I don't know, a running back or the odd little tight end you've got from somewhere, but you haven't even got a tight end. You know, where are these bad players going to throw the ball? Who are they going to throw the ball to? I don't understand.
So, Gary, I think there's probably... Well, I'm going to answer both questions there. Stidham was a decent player in college. And looking at kind of the Patriots' history of drafting quarterbacks, it's pretty good. You look around the league now, there's 3 former Patriot quarterbacks who are going to be starting. Brissett, Garoppolo, and now Tom Brady. The other thing, to your point, Gary, about who's going to be thrown to, the Patriots have got a lot of draft capital, and this is a draft that is deep in wide receiver. And the Patriots are good at kind of drafting unknown players that can fit a role that then go on to, actually do a pretty decent job. So I reckon the Patriots, this might be a down year for them, but I think they're building for the future. And I think, Griff's got a point. If Stidham can beat out Hoyer, he could be the guy that Belichick wants.
History doesn't keep repeating itself over and over and over again. It works for a while, but then it doesn't.
All right. I'd agree with that if it hadn't been 20 years of history repeating itself.
All right. Well,
here's the thing.
They're doing great, aren't they?
Here's the thing, right? The last 2 Patriots drafted quarterbacks were Jimmy Garoppolo, who's now been to the Super Bowl and is starting for the Niners, and is finished in the top 10 quarterbacks in the league last year in most of the things. And Brissett, who's been a starter, and
he's now not a starter.
Well, you
He's now
don't know.
he's now not a starter, Gary, because they signed Philip Rivers, your favourite quarterback.
I know. I'm not saying that's a good decision.
I'm just saying,
But he's not a starter.
Toby
He's got to be
Brissett's
a
won
starter.
plenty of games. Brissett's done a good enough job to be classed as a low-end starter in the league. What I'm saying is a lot of other clubs draft plenty of quarterbacks that you never see on the field. So there's just as good a chance that Stidham is as good as somewhere in the middle of the previously mentioned two than that he'll be useless at all.
Look, Belichick...
I'm not saying the Patriots are going to be useless next year. But all I'm saying is, the history won't keep repeating itself. There's only ever been one Tom Brady. You're not going to go into every 4th, 5th, 6th round and find the next GOAT. It's just not going to happen, is it? That's what my point is.
You're not going to pick up that quality of quarterback. But Brady and McDaniel's system doesn't rely on having a star quarterback. Like Brady is a good quarterback, and he's won a lot of games because he knows how to win games, not because he's a star quarterback. I think if we were, sat around the table deciding if we want Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes, or Tom Brady as a quarterback, Brady will probably come third out of that trio. Belichick looks for a quarterback that doesn't turn the ball over, which is why they're never going to sign James Winston. He just wants someone who can move the ball up and down the field and get to the goal line, and then he'll give it to a fullback to run in a touchdown. And that's kind of what Belichick wants. And he's going to build he'll build a decent defense, and he'll build an offense which is efficient.
Yeah, I think all of that perfectly encapsulates the plan. Stidham hasn't got to be a star this year. He's just got to look after the ball. And if he doesn't, they will give it to Brian Hoyer. But he's really
You've got the second lowest cap space in the league, don't forget. I know I didn't want to go on like a Patriots bashing here, but
all these things are
about
fair.
the realistic situation the Patriots are in.
We're carrying $13.5 million of Brady's cap hit that we can't do anything with. That's why this year is just about try and get to double-figure wins if we can. Be satisfied with the fact that you might miss out on the playoffs the year that Brady isn't there, and retool for next season, because a lot of those contracts are cleared after the end of this season. So one down year in a 21-year-long legacy of what's going on, people are going to soon forget that if you then retool and have another 4 or 5 good years before Belichick retires. And that's what this is all about. Belichick's got 4 or 5 more years to prove he can win a ring without Brady, and that's all he's interested in. He doesn't care if it's one bad year. We didn't make the playoffs in 2008, even though we won 11 games the year that Brady was out. We probably won't get there this year. Looking at what the Bills have done, that team looks amazing. But you take that on the chin, you rebuild for next year, a bit like the Niners have done. You had 2 terrible years, and now your team looks awesome. So
you're forgetting the Giants have been terrible for a number of years, and they're going to be terrible next year.
You could have just stopped with "you're forgetting the Giants."
Yeah, you two are both trying to.
The context is important about how bad we are.
John's even changed his shirt.
I don't have a Giant shirt anymore, so I'm wearing Breeze.
Fair enough.
We're just happy you're wearing something, John.
Thank you.
Well, am I supposed to have trousers on for this? Because when I stand up at the end, it could be frightening.
Yeah.
Just saying. Okay, let's move on from New England. We'll come back to them later. There's one more thing about that. But the Travis Frederick retirement, how significant is this loss for the Cowboys? Bearing in mind that he missed all of the season 2 years ago, and they actually played really well without him. So what do we think?
Still a big loss, isn't it? I mean, he was a great player. He's an all-pro centre. He's one of the best defensive linemen they've had in the last 10 or 20 years. So yeah, they played well without him, and they'll obviously find someone to replace him. But whenever you take a star player out of the team, it's a big loss.
They've already got his replacement under centre. I cannot. The guy's name has just slipped my head, and I'm trying to find it while I'm talking. But the guy that replaced him for the year he was out with whatever the name of that syndrome is that I can't pronounce that made him very
autoimmune syndrome.
Yeah, so he had that, and they've still got the backup centre who played all season.
Yeah, it's Joe Looney.
That's it, Joe Looney. So
Joe Looney, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm perfectly content that the drop off isn't massive. It's a shame that someone who's 29 feels that he has got to so scrutinise himself so much that he doesn't feel he's up to it, even though you'd have said he was one of the better O-linemen in the league last year.
Yeah, definitely. But, he's got to think about his future, not just his footballing future, his whole future as well. This is a horrible, horrible disease. And if he can get out now before any major damage is done, he's had a couple of good paydays. Maybe he moves into coaching and carries on working with the Cowboys. And I'm sure they'd support him and love to have him there.
Yeah, okay, that's fair. I just wanted to touch on it because I think he's a player we've all enjoyed watching. The beard is impressive on its own. He could be in ZZ Top tribute band in no time.
Yes.
Right, the free agency market. We've got to go through second wave of free agency that's happened between last week and this week. Anybody have anything they particularly want to start with, or do you just want to dive in with the quarterback market and work our way from there? What would you like to do?
I want to start with Jadeveon Clowney because, again, we talk about players that have got a history of injuries. We chat about Cam Newton and his inability now to go for a health check somewhere. Jadeveon Clowney he's a premium pass rusher. He wants a lot of money, which is why he didn't agree a contract renewal with Houston, and why he's not agreed a contract renewal with Seattle yet. But he's got a checkered history when it comes to injuries. When he came into the league, his first year was completely null and void because he was injured. He's had injury problems before, since then as well. And the inability to go for a proper fitness check is probably going to hamper any deal he gets kind of moving forward. So I reckon he's looking at a one maximum 2-year deal where all the guarantees are going to be in the first year, and he's going to have to kind of prove his fitness over that year.
You don't think the most likely thing is he ends up back in Seattle?
He could very well do, but I don't know. I think there are other teams out there with some decent salary cap spread. The Giants being one of them, actually.
Purely on the basis that he can't go and do a medical anywhere, it seems likely to me that the team that know him best at the moment will be the Seahawks, and they will say, I think they put a fairly big offer on the table for him. So 18 million, 15 million. They put quite a big offer on. If you were him, you'd be thinking, right, don't wait this out too long. You don't know when this is going to be over. Sign the 1-year deal and see what happens, because they need him, and he needs to be somewhere that understands he can make a difference.
I think that's what he's got to do. But I think he's also looking across the league. He's seen DeForest Buckner sign a $21 million deal, and he's like, well, I'm as good as DeForest Buckner, if not better. So, that he might have to swallow some pride and sign a lesser deal and get through it, like you say.
I only had 3 sacks last year.
Yeah, I don't think he's as good as DeForest Buckner. DeForest Buckner's like 23.
Yeah, but it's not all about sacks. It's about the quarterback pressures as well. He had a game against the 49ers. He absolutely dominated the 49ers, and the 49ers go into the Super Bowl. They're a good team. He's got that ability to pressure the quarterback. Stats are important, but they're not everything, and he gives something else to the team.
Have they got room at the Colts for him, Jim?
Yeah, they have. You've got salary cap. The Colts would be good
landing spot for him. Rivers, they're in win now mode, aren't they? Well, they can do both. They can do win now and rebuild.
Having signed Rivers, they're in win last year mode.
Well, I don't
win 5 years ago.
Rivers, but a lot of people do, don't they?
Isn't getting Rivers in getting win apart from when it matters?
Yeah.
I mean, does anyone actually think that Philip Rivers is going to be any good?
People need to think of the economic impact. The nurseries around the Indianapolis area are going to have a massive increase in business.
Paul is all about the economy today.
Well, it's important in these times of troubling need. You've got to think about the economy and how we're going to pay back all this money we're throwing around. I don't think the Colts will be any better than they were with Brissett under centre. I don't see it as an improvement. It's just winning the same number of games in a different way. That's all it's going to be. He's not an upgrade at this time in his career.
I don't see what he brings to that. I don't see what additional he brings to that team.
15 kids.
Yeah, apart from
the future.
Okay, so we mentioned Jameis. He got a shout earlier. Any inclination at all other than the Patriots where
he's got Jags written all over him?
Yeah,
really.
Christ. Can you imagine how terrible that team will be with Jameis in control?
Wow. He's better than bloody Minshew.
Is he? Minshew doesn't turn the ball over like Jameis does.
But James has had his eyes fixed. He's had laser surgery on his eyes. He can see now.
Pass leader last year.
Yeah.
Pass leader.
30 interceptions.
33 touchdowns, Jim.
I would worry.
7 pick sixes.
Because he's moving from Mike Evans and Godwin.
Yeah.
Just like 3
DJ
random
Shark.
blokes off the street.
DJ Chark and John Farrow.
Yeah. Just
catch radius of 0.
I mean, whatever it is, it's going to be hilarious wherever he ends up.
I don't think the eye surgery makes enough difference to make up for the fact he's shit at throwing the ball to the right team.
doesn't matter anyway. He closes them
The
when he
Jets,
closes his eyes
does
when
he-
he throws anyway.
Are the Jets convinced by Darnold? Does he turn up at the Jets or
He's
somewhere
not
random
going.
like
No,
that?
they like Darnold there. They need to build around Darnold. There's no point spending money on bringing Jameson as a backup when you need to fix an offensive line and give him a whole new set of receivers.
Who is the backup quarterback of the Jets now? Anyone? I have no
Right.
idea.
That was
Is it Bryce
Davis Webb,
Petty?
wasn't it?
Yeah, it was Davis Webb. He moved there.
It was Davis Webb. So they do need an upgrade at backup because Darnold hasn't been fit all the time that he's been available. Let's not forget that. He's not exactly... He hasn't looked like a difference maker yet. And I know it's because the team are terrible, but I don't really understand what all the fuss was about Darnold. He hasn't looked that good at any point.
He's had no offensive line.
Last year, he had Simeon.
Trevor Simeon, yeah. Do you remember when he was good, those 6 games he had?
No.
No.
Geno Smith's still available. He could just go back to the Jets.
I only put that on the list because it makes me chuckle that Geno's still in the league. 29 years old now, Geno. Feels like he was only drafted like 2 years ago.
Blake Bortles is only 28.
Yeah, he'll turn up somewhere. Bearing in mind the Vikings have re-signed Sean Mannion, I would rather have Blake Bortles.
You've changed. You've changed, man.
That move by the Rams is more about their cap space or lack of it.
Oh, really?
They haven't got anything.
They are struggling, aren't they? Anyone think Mike Glennon is done in the league? He's no longer on the squad at the Raiders. It's over,
Should
right?
be.
Well, Peterman's still there, but Glennon apparently is gone.
Glennon is gone, yeah.
Peterman is there for now. Let's see what that happens because the Raiders are a really interesting team with this move to showbiz and their residency at the
Simeon's
Mirage
gone
for the
from the
next few
Jets
years.
as well. Simeon's not even at the Jets.
Who isn't, sorry?
Simeon, he's a free agent.
Yeah, he's a free agent now.
Mike White.
Mike White of the Cowboys, ex-Cowboys.
Making up names.
No.
Look, Matt Moore's still available, Greg.
I'm assuming he's a Madden regen, but yeah, Mike White is.
Mike White was definitely third choice at the Cowboys a few years ago. Yeah, absolutely.
We're coming into kind of strange times, aren't we? Because like you look across the league a couple of years back, you couldn't fill every team with like a starting quarterback, and now with like players like Rivers, Brady, Breeze, Roethlisberger, like they're lasting a longer period of time. And now we've almost got too many quarterbacks. Like you mentioned some good names here, like Cam Newton, Jameis Winston, Blake Bortles. They've all been starting quarterbacks.
It's an echo from last week's show.
Right.
Is it? Did I say this last week?
Put Blake Bortles and Jameis Winston in the good category of
I
quarterbacks.
said I said they've all been starting quarterbacks.
Yeah, but I mean, starting quarterbacks. You could put some utter dross in there. Sean Kaiser started a season. That doesn't mean he's not a gigantic waste of person.
That's the point, is it? Some of these ex-starting quarterbacks, they can't get a gig now, can they? They can't even get a gig as a backup. People, all these quarterbacks now on the market, it's like, well, as soon as someone's going to go down, it's like a scramble to sign one of them. But there's no scrambling more, so they're going to go for league minimum salaries, which is probably good because some of them have been overpaid before.
Speaking of people who've been overpaid before, Joe Flacco released this week as well.
Yeah,
he's done. Anywhere?
He's done.
Okay,
he'll be commentating at some point soon.
I fucking hope not. He's really boring. He's more Jason Witten than Tony Romo.
Can we go back to Glennon?
Yeah.
And just remember the time when they drafted Trubisky, and you saw the exact moment his heart broke.
It's a shame because when he was at the Buccaneers, he looked like a really good prospect, and then it all just fell apart when he moved to the Bears. And I think his confidence just got destroyed. You saw last year on. But you saw last year on Hard Knocks, Gruden just trying to get him to speak. Just talk to your teammates. Do something. Don't be a Glenn Non. Just get on with it. It's a guy whose personality has just been crushed by the trade for Trubisky, and it's not like that's worked out well.
Bloody terrible.
29 games in his career. The league isn't going to miss him.
No, it's not going to miss him. But Trubisky's about to get replaced by Nick Foles. I mean,
Super Bowl MVP.
Yeah, but it's Nick Foles not playing in green. It won't be any good.
You think they're going to just change all the uniform?
Yes.
By the way, speaking of uniforms, Gary I have had more chance now to look at all the new stuff for the Rams. That is the biggest load of old toss I've ever seen. It's just
Awful,
a rip
isn't it?
off. All of it's a rip off of the Chargers logo.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
It's
Yeah.
dreadful.
it's ready for when the Chargers leave LA.
Which might not be.
The fans can just draw a little goat's head on the end of the logo.
It's pretty poor. I don't. They seem very excited about it, and I don't get it myself. But
They got
Right.
a new uniform coming as well, haven't they? Was that being released already?
They're going back to blue and yellow, aren't they?
back to blue and yellow. Yeah, absolutely.
And
we'll
the
talk
Chargers release theirs tomorrow, which is blue and yellow.
Are they just trying to
Brilliant.
trick the fans into spending their money on shit they don't need?
The blue
That's
and yellow uniforms
generally what the
are much
NFL
better,
do.
though, aren't they?
But do they think the fans are that stupid that they're going to turn up and go, wait a minute, this is the Chargers. They've done it again.
I don't know.
Every time.
They seem to be stupid enough to believe that Los Angeles would support two teams, which it had never done successfully before.
Barely supported one team successfully.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I mean. One of those
Yours,
teams.
John hasn't supported one team successfully either. Wears a different shirt every week.
Right, running backs. Melvin Gordon to the Broncos. Didn't see that one coming. Anyone think this is
Nope.
a good? I mean, is it just reducing the snaps for Philip Lindsay, who's been really good, and not?
I reckon your favourite voice.
Yeah, Royce Freeman's on his ass there, and it's all over for
Yeah.
Big Royce. But why spend the money when they didn't need a running back?
Because Royce Freeman's shit.
I don't
Yeah.
know if I think they're both flattered to deceive a little bit. If I'm honest with you, they didn't have a great year last year.
Yeah, both were really poor this year. So
I think
I
this.
think Gordon and Freeman, not Gordon, Gordon and Lindsay's a good 1-2. Go with it.
I do feel this is Elway's recruitment strategy of, hey, you were good somewhere else. It doesn't matter if you fit into our system or anything. You were good somewhere else. Come in.
Look, before last year, the year before that, Melvin Gordon was a top 10 running back, and they've paid him like £8 million a season. It's not that bad. 16 million for 2 years.
It's a decent deal for the Broncos.
I don't think it's awful.
No, but I think this
I
is
just,
the
didn't,
case.
I just didn't think they needed him.
No, I
No,
don't. No.
I
But
don't
then
think their
if you-
running game was that great.
No,
it wasn't
it's
If you'd
brilliant.
taken either of those players in fantasy, if you would, you wouldn't have lasted very long, Griff.
Let's not remember I didn't choose to draft him.
Yeah.
well, I picked Gordon, and he was fine.
Yeah,
Once he started playing,
I like Melvin Gordon. He ruined his chances of staying on a better team by sodding them about. And
I don't think the Chargers are a better team.
maybe not. I don't know. I'm not sure. I like the fact
pick-
the Chargers have made a decision and gone with Eckler. I really like Austin Eckler. He's a really good player. I just don't think the Broncos needed Gordon. They just need to be a better team. They need a better O-line, and their running backs will perform better. But Philip Lindsay was a revelation 2 years ago. It was amazing.
He was pretty decent last year.
Yeah,
He's a running back who's never fumbled.
I think it's a good deal for all involved. The Chargers go with Eckler. The Broncos get a better player than Royce Freeman, and Melvin Gordon plays in front of a crowd next year. Great.
Okay, Jordan Howard to the Dolphins. This is a good move for the Dolphins, right?
I
Yeah.
think
Good
so.
move for
Yeah.
Jordan Howard as well.
Jordan Howard massively underutilized last year, just sort of kicked around.
He was
I
injured,
think this
wasn't he,
is
for a bit?
I think this is a great upgrade for him.
Yeah.
I really like this move. I'm glad to see Jordan Howard back. And then at the opposite end to that move, Dion Lewis to the Giants. Now I know he's only going to be a backup, but what's that all about?
Well, he's a
I
backup
don't
last
mind
year.
it.
Yeah, but he was so bad at the Titans. He's been awful for 2 years since he left the Patriots, basically.
But he was also there. He's someone who's played in winning teams, and Derrick Henry must have got some sort of benefit off him. Derrick Henry went mad in the second half of the season, didn't he? So if he helps Saquon end up being the leading rusher in the league, that's great. He doesn't cost a lot either, does he?
Saquon has proved to not be indestructible as well. He does have injuries. You need we can't just have Paul Perkins
What?
and
Wayne Gallman Jr.
He's just a
Jr.
pass catching
It's just
back
a-
option. That's all he
Yeah,
is.
gives us
It's
something else
another-
we haven't had.
It's
He's
another
there for
form of
Jones.
Patriot. It's another form of Patriot gone to another form of Patriot coach.
Oh,
Yeah.
Joe Judge, of course. Yes, you're quite right. I hadn't even
And
thought.
that works out well all of the time, doesn't it?
Lewis played a lot on special teams when Joe Judge was there, didn't he?
Yeah.
So I hadn't even put that together. You're quite right. Still on the free agency market, future Hall of Famer Frank Gore. Do we think he's coming back?
No.
I think this could be it.
He's 37 now. Come on, time to retire.
Time to go in the Hall of Fame. Ty Montgomery, anyone? Need a backup running back?
He'll turn up somewhere.
He will, yeah.
I think so. Devonta Freeman, this is the difficult one for me.
John, you loved him last year.
Yeah, he is probably going to end up somewhere in the season. He wants to be paid, and he's not going to get paid.
He's not going to get paid. This has got
he needs
1
some
year
realism
deal
locked into him.
It's a shame because 3 years ago he was amazing, but how many times do we see this? Running backs have 1 or maybe 2 brilliant years, and then they're never the same player again, and he is absolutely encapsulating that problem.
Yeah.
I still think on the right team, in a snap share scenario, he's a devastating short distance yardage runner, but that's all he's got left.
If the 49ers had a cut Jared McKinnon instead of restructuring his contract, he would have ended up there with Kyle Shanahan again.
Oh, I'm sure you're right. They actually restructured McKinnon completely.
Yeah, they restructured it to. I think they've reduced the cap hit this year by $3 million.
I think so. We've paid him shitloads of money to do nothing for the last 2 years.
Yeah.
Devonta Freeman is a 5'8" battering ram, and that just doesn't fit. He is injury prone. He's a backup, but it would be good to see. Running backs get injured, he will probably be around in the league week 8.
He's committee, isn't he? He's a committee running back.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. And if you look at a lot of the successful teams that ran the ball last year, it wasn't done by one person. It was either done by a quarterback and a couple of running backs, or it was done by 2 and 3 running backs. People hit so hard in this league now. I don't think that, and that's why running backs don't get paid. It's because you cannot guarantee. You look at Gurley, Kamara didn't have a great year last year. You look at all these players, it's not going to be that way. You're ever going to do that.
No, I just wanted to see Jim's face when you mentioned Kamara didn't have a good year last year.
I can't even see Jim, though.
I'm right here.
I noticed a little bit while we were recording this. We all look like we're happily sitting at home and comfortable, and Jim just looks like he's sitting in a prison cell.
Yes. Welcome to my house. It's a prison.
In Beirut. Right. Okay. Here's another tricky one. Carlos Hyde. What do you do with a 1,000-yard rushing Carlos Hyde who isn't on a team?
He's got to get a gig. He's got to get a gig somewhere. Yeah, I mean...
Fournette gets injured. I'd put him in the Jags.
Yeah, that's not a bad shout.
I'd take him as a part-time player on the Patriots. I think he's an underappreciated player in my book.
He could go to the Bills as well. They've got Singletary, but backing him up and doing the role that Gore did last year.
Yeah, that's fair. And then finally, and you'll see it on your order, Lamar Miller. Is it all over for Lamar Miller? He's 28, I think.
29.
29. All right, it's 29. This is a player who's flashed brilliance, but it's just
overpaid, not delivered throughout his entire career. He'll
that
be
was
out on waivers for a while. He won't get signed before the season.
The classic Houston Texans paying the wrong player the wrong amount of money.
He only had 2,000-yard seasons, one in 2014 and one in 2016.
And that's when he got paid after that 2016 season. He was the highest paid running back in the league, or so, for about a year.
32 touchdowns in 7 years. I mean, it's all sort of league average. It's nothing. He just looks better when he's running than his stats and performances have been. It's an odd thing. I really like watching him, but
I'd rather have Isaiah Crowell off the free agency list.
God.
The Crow. No, he doesn't get mentioned very often.
And Bill Owl's on that list as well. 31-year-old Bill Owl Powell still available.
Yeah.
Bill Owl Powell's had neck issues, though. It's all over, isn't it, for Bill Owl Powell?
Bill Owl Powell's had quality issues as well.
I know all about them. Right, wide receivers market. So, a couple of big moves. Well, one today, one yesterday. Do you want to talk about what you think about Emmanuel Sanders going to the Saints?
Oh, it's such a good signing. Bastards. But I said this last year that if you want to get the best out of Michael Thomas again next year, you're going to have a decent wide receiver or a receiver option that isn't Michael Thomas, and that Sanders gives them that as well. That's a good deal.
It's a massive upgrade on Ted Ginn, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, you can catch a ball.
Yeah. Yes.
I mean, catch a ball. He's roughly the same age. I think Jim's correct. I think this makes Michael Thomas even more dangerous. If you
want to replace Ted Ginn, you get Robbie Anderson.
Yeah, but Robbie Anderson's just today signed for the
Gone
Panthers.
to the Panthers, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was predictable with his relationship with Matt Rule.
Yeah, I didn't know he was in a relationship with Matt Rule, but okay.
Yeah, they've been together a long time. No, they played. Rule was the head coach at Temple when Robbie Anderson was there, and apparently Robbie Anderson loves him. So it was I was surprised it took this long for it to happen.
Who are the wide receivers at the Panthers then? Robbie Anderson and who?
What's his name? DJ Moore, Curtis Samuel.
Yeah.
Curtis
Yeah.
Samuel's a great player. I think he'll have a great season next year.
I mean, Christian McCaffrey's a running back, but he's very much a receiving running back. So I think, and you look at that system, and it's perfect for Teddy Bridgewater because you don't actually have to ask him to do that much. Just find an open receiver, probably in short to medium routes, and fling it to them and let them do the work.
Yeah, I think I like the signing. I think they just need to upgrade that more and more and more to take the pressure off McCaffrey. You can't have him be the sole weapon every week. He will just get broken.
But I think that's what it does. Because Robbie Anderson is going to be, he's one of those receivers who's quick. He's going to stretch the field, and that's going to open up that defensive box for McCaffrey. So, yeah, I think it's a decent signing.
Does anyone want to talk about Nelson Aguilar to the Raiders? No? Okay. Eric Ebron to the Steelers.
Oh, no. Let's talk about Aguilar to the Raiders. That is hilarious.
You know, you mentioned that Ted Ginn can't catch.
Yeah, Aguilar might be the only player with more stone-like hands than...
And I'm amazed you're going to allow us to move on from wide receivers when we've still got a 5'9" wide receiver that's just gone to the Niners.
Who's that, sorry?
Travis Benjamin.
Just signed today.
Oh, I missed that. I hadn't.
And he's 5'9". That is just what I've wanted for the last 2.5 years. Full wide receiver.
Replacing 6'4" Emmanuel Sanders.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's just what you want.
He's only 6'1", I think, Emmanuel Sanders. He's not that big either.
it's all about the size with you,
else.
isn't it? All about the size with you. What does Kirsty say about that? Right, on to Eric Ebron to the Steelers. What do we think? They've already got McDonald.
No, he's a free agent.
Have they not re-signed him?
Not that I know of.
Okay, no, that's fine then. So I thought he was going back there, but Eric Ebron is an upgrade on McDonald, right? As an actual scoring tight end.
By the way, Sanders is 5'11".
Oh, he's only little as well.
So you've only lost 2 inches.
Some of us haven't got that to give away.
That's just the tip.
Oh, God. Right, so Eric Ebron helps upgrade the Steelers, correct? In waiting for
right.
back.
Yeah.
I think
Sorry,
this is...
I stand corrected. McDonald still is at the Steelers.
Amateurs, the lot of you.
Yeah.
Right. So I stand by what I said. I think this really upgrades the offensive weaponry for Big Ben because they need red zone weapons on that Steelers team. And he is one, even though we've joked about him in the past and last year wasn't as good as the year before. He is a red zone threat.
Year before, he caught 13 touchdown passes from Andrew Luck. Now, Ben Roethlisberger's not Andrew Luck, but he's not a million miles away. So, yeah. And Roethlisberger's got good history of finding tight ends. You know, he played with Heath Miller for years, and Heath Miller was pretty decent. So I reckon it's a good signing.
Hello, Paul. How anyone can say that with a straight face, I don't know.
I have no idea.
I mean, Big Ben is looking like a hobo, but
he looks ridiculous.
Are we assuming he's going to be fit and healthy and ready to go and upgrading that Steelers
team?
Well,
he'll play. I don't think he'll ever be either of those other two things.
No, I think you might be right. If I was a betting man, and I'm not, but maybe I should take it up because I'm not any good at anything else, I would say once again, Roethlisberger doesn't see out the season and gets injured. I just think... I mean, he looks literally like they kicked him off the street.
He looks like he's like an animated character or something. He looks like
that is what I'm going to look like.
A troll.
I'm going to look like that after the next 11 and a half weeks have gone by.
If you had that much
at which point
you'd be well happy.
Well, I will have. I'll have it at the front. You just won't see the bald bit at the back anymore.
At which point does he stop running across America?
Forrest
I
Gump.
paid him 20 quid to cross a bridge last week.
Right. Okay. Well, I just think that the injury is going to mount up again. It's going to be a bit like the Cam scenario. I think it's done for Roethlisberger, and that they should have been trying to move on from him, not depending on him coming back.
Yeah.
You not think they're in for the quarterback draft this year? Again,
I think it's somewhere where you could see one of these established guys that have, gone off the wayside turn up.
What do we reckon about Tomlin wanting to work with Jameis Winston?
Well, that could happen.
Well, I think it could happen.
He's known for throwing a lot of interceptions as well.
Yeah.
He likes a gunslinger, doesn't he?
He does. And I can see Winston backing that up.
I mean, Winston's better than Mason Rudolph.
You're better than Mason Rudolph.
Hodges and Paxton Lynch. They're all the
backups. Yeah, I forgot about that.
Paxton Lynch is still earning a salary from the NFL.
Steelers could go for all sorts, couldn't they? Dalton,
I just got
the Bengals on. Yeah, the Bengals aren't trading Dalton to the Steelers, though.
I'd take Dalton to the Jets behind Darnold.
Yeah, that's a good shout. I don't think the Bengals are trading Dalton at all. I think he'll get cut like Cam.
They could be one of the teams as well going after wide receivers this draft, and because their defense is pretty stacked.
Yeah, the defense is decent still. So yeah, absolutely.
They give some weapons to go with Juju and Benny Schnell. Then
I'm not convinced that running back in Pittsburgh.
No.
They got James Conner will be fit, we hope, but they signed Derek Watt, didn't they, as fullback? And I think that helps. I really think that helps the running game there. He's a brilliant fullback.
Yeah, this draft falls quite nicely for them as well because they haven't got that first round pick. So you're right. I think in the later rounds where the draft is deep at wide receiver, they could pick up a good receiving option.
Okay, this is good. Right. Anybody got any other unsigned free agents that they feel really needs to be championed or kicked out of the league?
Greg the Leg.
And while you're talking about kickers, I'll go with the Patriots cutting Stephen Gostkowski to save $3.5 million against the cap, which is a shocker for me. I'm not happy. We're bringing back Nick Folk apparently, who looked we looked like we dragged him out the local mechanics yard. Just can you wind up and kick this ball, mate?
He's been under a bridge with Ben Roethlisberger.
I know we've got to save money against the cap, but the Patriots need their special teams to be strong. They'd already lost Nate Ebner to the Giants, who's one of our stalwarts. We re-signed Michael Slater and then got rid of the kicker. It's an odd thing to do for me. I don't like it. So yes, Greg the Leg and Gostkowski, 2 kickers on the market. They're both going to be playing in the league next year.
Oh yeah.
No, definitely, yeah.
So where are they going to end up? I'd take Greg the Leg, but we can't afford him. If we can't afford Gostkowski, we can't afford Greg the Leg.
God knows.
Any team
by week 2, the first couple of kickers will have been dropped by their own teams.
They'll be signed before then. They'll be signed by the proper pre-season. I think they're too good to just sit there. But I've not really looked into actually where they might end up because they're kickers.
Kickers are people too. What about Michael Bennett, 34 years old, fairly disruptive still, but slowing down year on year as pass rushers do? Has he got
the problem is he's disruptive off the field as much as he is on the field as well. So I don't think teams want to take a risk of someone who, he's a decent player, but is it worth it in a dressing room? Come on.
I prefer the phrase changing room.
Whatever.
I'm not sure you want to be getting in a dressing room. I think he'll be back, but I don't know where. It's the same with Terrell Suggs. Now, he's not disruptive off the field, but he's slowed down visibly over the last 2 years. Has he got one more year left? He'll be 38, I think, when the season starts. Or is it done?
I think this is it for Suggs. Yeah, he's got his second ring now. He's fine. It's good. Retire. Be happy. He'll be in the Hall of Fame as well. He's been a great player.
Yeah, absolutely. Tight ends, Delaney Walker and Tyler Eifert are both sitting there waiting to be signed. I think one of the two doesn't come back, but I don't know which one. Walker's old, Eifert's always injured. Somebody will take a risk on one of them, but I don't know which one.
If you're going to take a flyer on Eifert.
Yeah.
Delaney Walker's got to be done, surely. Although if you can try and sneak a deal out somewhere like Jimmy Graham, we'd be very happy.
Well, I would take either of them at the Patriots. We need tight ends. If you could get them both on cheap deals and just have them rotating in and out, that's a great pairing if you haven't got to use them all the time. But we can't afford
really have no money at all.
No, that's what I mean.
I thought you and some people would understand this, Michael. You have no money whatsoever.
Believe me, I do. I absolutely do. I can't afford either of them here with me either, helping me out. Now, in terms of great, big, enormous pass-rushing, run-stuffing players, Ezekiel Ansah, Dantari Poe and Ndamukong Suh all three are free agents. Are they all back? There's been a lot of talk around Dontari Poe signing, but not the other two. Very quiet.
It was this time last year as well for Sue.
Yeah.
Like he didn't sign until quite late with the Bucks. I think teams are going to go through the draft, see what they can get, probably get into camp if the world ever goes back to normal. See what happens there, and then go right. Actually, you know what? We need this guy's not this 6th, 7th, 5th round pick isn't good enough. We're going to bring in Sue on a cheap deal. Same goes to Ansa, and who was the other one you mentioned?
Dontari Poe.
Yeah, Dontari Poe. Quite a lot. Sorry, go on.
Heaviest man ever to touchdown. Is that Dontari Poe? I think so.
Yeah.
Wasn't there someone else last year?
Oh, did someone else take over that record? Because he was enormous.
I thought there was an offensive lineman last year that scored one who was the heaviest man ever to score a touchdown.
Dontari is the heaviest man to throw a touchdown.
Vita
Vea is the heaviest man to catch a touchdown.
Oh, good knowledge.
Yeah.
Like big men? Is that?
Yeah.
Okay, just checking. And cornerback, Xavier Rhodes was just about the worst cornerback in the league last year. Now, that was a serious drop-off in his ability. He'd not been that bad ever before. Do we think someone will take a flyer on him like, other players in the past have had down years and then gone on to be at least league average somewhere else? I like Rhodes. He's been a decent player, but last year he was an abortion.
Yeah, he was terrible last year, but he'll get another job somewhere. But there is a lot of cornerbacks in the market coming into the second phase of free agency as well. So not only him, Nickel Roby-Coleman's on the market, Prince Amukamara, Demarius Randall, who's a safety, come cornerback. They're all sitting there available, and the draft isn't deep at cornerback this year. So I think they'll all get a job somewhere.
Niners need a quarterback, don't they? Or two.
Yeah.
Cost us a Super Bowl after all.
Prince Amukamara is the best one out of that lot you've just mentioned, right?
Yeah, none of them are shut down grade A cornerbacks, but they'll all do a decent job for you.
Yeah, they're all B starting.
Yeah.
I like Amukamara. I mean, he's been on the market 4 or 5 times. He never seems to settle anywhere for very long, but he's always been a decent player. It's odd. I wonder if there's something that you don't hear about him that doesn't quite fit in.
It's because he's always the third best cornerback.
Yeah,
he wants too much money to be a start, but you can get him eventually on a third pick. But you can't give him as much money as he probably wants to be a starter.
I can't imagine he sells many shirts either because people can't pronounce the names, so they just don't order them.
Yeah, get a lot of value for your letters, though, don't you?
Yeah. So, I want to talk about why I keep hearing the Redskins will move on from Dwayne Haskins. Firstly, does anyone think it's going to happen? And secondly, does anyone think it should happen?
I think it will happen, and I think it should happen.
You're not sold on Haskins, no?
Well, I don't think he did much last year. There wasn't a lot around him. We watched it at the Cardinals. New coach, new quarterback. It worked there. If you're going to, Shanahan, for example, was allowed to do whatever he wanted, wasn't he, for the first 2 to 3 years with John Lynch in San Francisco to rebuild that team as he saw fit. I think that's the model people are using with these new coaches that are coming into the league. So I think they're being asked, do you want this player? That time is gone. The value on that pick and that player is gone. This is the situation we're in now. We still have a very early draft pick. Do we want to take a new quarterback? So I think that's the case. And I don't think that Haskins has shown enough.
I think the Kyle Allen signing tells you 2 things. It tells you that Alex Smith isn't coming back, and it tells you that Ron Rivera wants someone who knows his system and will follow his direction. Don't forget, Allen started 12 games last year and they actually won the first 5, and he played really well. What was it, 17 touchdowns to 5 interceptions? Then it went completely the other way when people had got a read on him. He's not a starting quarterback, but it feels like he might be given more of an opportunity because Rivera knows him as opposed to...
I'd play him over Haskins right now.
Yeah, as would I. I think he's probably a better player right now. And I think the Rosen comparison is spot on. We touched on it last week a bit. I just don't think he's going to get the opportunity that maybe the underlying talent deserves, and he could end up, being traded off somewhere else.
Yeah, I think. I completely agree with you. I think there's the big issue there is that Dwayne Haskins has got a reputation for not putting the work in behind the scenes and not being in the classroom studying playbooks like other quarterbacks should be doing, and that's come to haunt him. And Ron Rivera is not the type of coach that's going to stand for that. So yes, they could move on. My only hesitance there is that with the number 2 pick, on the basis that we all think that the Bengals are going to take a quarterback at number 1, Rivera's got a chance to sign an absolute stud of a pass rusher in Chase Young. And I think as a defensive head coach, that's going to be high up on his list. So whether they do that and draft Chase Young and then kind of throw the controls over to Kyle Allen as a solid quarterback, that could be happen. But I think
they don't
Dwayne
really
has
make the decision this year, do they? Because
no, that's just what I mean.
Early again next year.
Potentially, yeah.
Because they're going to be bad.
Yeah, probably.
Very true.
Do we not think they've got a choice to make across 2 years?
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. Are we nailed on then that the Bengals are taking Joe Burrow? I asked this last week, and now there's more and more talk the Dolphins will give up all 3 first-rounders in order to move up and take who they like at number 1.
I wouldn't. But this is the Dolphins. They are a history of awful choices.
Well, there's 2 teams with awful draft pedigree, and they've got the best capital to move up. The Dolphins and the Bengals. The Bengals never make good decisions, and the Dolphins are always too slow to pull the trigger on good decisions. So, even if the Bengals got an offer of 2 first-rounders, if the Dolphins said, here's number 5, and I think it's 17 or 18 they're at as well, if they got that offer to them, they should take that and step back, because Burrows doesn't want to go there. He doesn't want to go to the Bengals. So let the Dolphins pick whoever they want, and then take Tua or whoever else it is, Herbert, whatever, because the gap isn't going to be massive between the first 3 quarterbacks off the board this year. So, and you've got all this draft capital, and the Bengals are in full rebuild mode, as they should be, every 3 years, because they're crap. So if they get offered 2 first-round picks to drop 4 spaces in the draft, you've got to take it, haven't you?
Yeah.
But why would you, as Miami?
Yeah.
I'd just take Tua.
Yeah, I'd take Tua.
Yeah.
What,
I'd
the
take Tua
Bengals, you
and
mean?
rebuild the team.
Well, I think, that could happen. The Bengals could take Tua. I don't think they will. But if I was Miami, if Burrow's not there, I'd just take Tua.
Yeah, but there's a good chance that someone else will jump up and try and take Tua. The Chargers need somebody.
Yeah.
Not
Just take the next one.
Yeah.
Tyrod Taylor's just as, and we've said they're all interchangeable.
At the end of the day, say somebody jumps ahead of you, and then you have to go and ride Jameis for a year or Cam Newton for a year.
I ain't riding either of those dudes. That's going to hold me out.
But
They're riding you.
We've talked about it. There are so many quarterbacks out there. And what? Just take 3 first-round players.
Yeah.
The Dolphins are terrible. Just take 3 first-round players. I think that is so important that they take 3 first-round players. If they don't get the quarterback they want, fine. Take another defensive player. And then just go and get one off free agency. There's loads of them.
Did it work for the Raiders last year? They took 3 first-round players. Were they that much better?
But
they had a quarterback in place.
Better.
Yeah, they had a quarterback in place, but the Dolphins just won a load of games with Ryan Fitzpatrick, who's still there.
That's what I mean. I think the Raiders were significantly better last year than the year before.
But they didn't win a significantly larger number of games.
Well, they were much closer to the playoff picture.
Yes, they were. Yes. Yeah. Okay.
I look at the inactivity of the Bengals in free agency compared to the Dolphins. And I just think that, well, we know they're a stingy franchise anyway, so they don't sign big players in the free agency. But if you get it off at the Bengals with all the needs they have on that franchise, if you're going to offer them, I'd say it's going to take 2 first-round picks. I don't think you have to go to 3. I think you go 2 first-round picks and maybe a third. I think they'll take that. I think the Dolphins they're obviously not in a win now position, but I think the Dolphins are thinking we're closer to where we want to be than what the Bengals are thinking now, because the Bengals have signed barely anybody. Like,
signed a couple of cornerbacks, haven't they?
Trey Waynes and Mackenzie Alexander, the 2 cornerbacks they've signed, and that's not neither on huge contracts. DJ Reader, the defensive tackle, 4-year, $53 million contract. These aren't star players. They're not like what the Dolphins have gone out and done in free agency. But they brought in Byron Jones, they brought in Shaq Lawson, they brought in Emmanuel Ogba, Eric Flowers is
all for a
shit.
lot of money. Lot
Yeah.
of
Money that they
So
can
that's what I mean. I think the Bengals have got a lot more holes to fill than what the Dolphins have got at the moment. So
Right.
yeah, if the Dolphins if the Dolphins, I can see Paul cracking out. If the Dolphins pony up and kind of throw in 2 first-round picks and a third, I think the Bengals are doing that, and I think the Bengals are stupid enough to do it as a franchise.
I don't even think it's stupid enough. If they think that Burrows doesn't want to play there and they're not sold on Tua, take it and go and pick other players. That's what I think. And I don't think they are sold on Tua. I think they want Joe Burrow, and I think he doesn't want to go there. And you end up in an awful situation.
If you're Joe Burrow, though, and the Miami trade up, I'd be looking at Eric Flowers on $10 million a year, just thinking, I'm gonna get obliterated.
The Bengals don't have an O-line either.
I was going to say he's going to get obliterated in Cincinnati as well.
Yeah.
At least it's sunny in Miami.
Yeah, out of the 2 places, you'd rather go to Miami, right? Brian Flores looks like a head coach who can coach. Zach Taylor doesn't.
And Miami is a cool place to be.
Miami's a cool place to be. They've just signed Jordan Howard, which is going to help you take pressure off the new quarterback. I don't know.
And they've got other draft picks within the draft outside the first round as well. It's not just about the first round for the Dolphins.
No, they've got a lot of picks.
Yeah, if they play their cards right, Miami could be in a really strong position in the AFC East.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think there's a real possibility of a trade for the number 1 pick.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't suppose anybody's done homework on this, but 3 biggest winners and losers from free agency so far. Anybody want to throw their hand up?
Well, biggest winner has got to be Jimmy Graham getting 16 million when he can't play football anymore.
Did you not get a million offer?
They bought a statue.
His agent must be on have the silverest tongue in the world.
Jesus. I'll put my hand up and say Tom Brady getting such an upgrade at wide receiver to see out the last couple of years of his career. I think that's
tax-free money.
Tax-free money. Everybody loves tax-free money.
Randall Cobb's a bad one as well. That much money for someone that old.
Yeah. Okay.
Paid a lot of money for Cobb.
Yeah, they have. Amari Cooper's done very well as well. You know,
It's a lot of money for him.
Apparently, that Amari Cooper got so much money because the Redskins went in really hard on trying to get him, and they just pushed the price up. And apparently, they just kept going back and going back. Apparently, it was just for shits and giggles. Made Jerry Jones spend loads of money. Hilarious.
Listen, the winners. Biggest winner is the Cardinals. The biggest losers, Houston. Let's not kid.
Yeah, I was waiting for somebody to bring up the DeAndre Hopkins trade because
I'm trying to forget about that.
In the last 2 years, the Texans have lost Matthew, Super Bowl winning Matthew, Clowney. They've lost DeAndre Hopkins. They've not got a first-round pick for any of them.
Just painful, really, isn't it? What was the hype around Deshaun Watson today? I didn't actually read this.
Well, apparently there was some tweet where he kind of liked to tweet about him maybe going to the Patriots. But as John quite rightly said, it is a contract year, so I think it's just the beginning of negotiations, probably. But I don't think you can afford him. That's the problem.
No, of course not. But can you imagine your faces if we did?
Oh.
I'm still convinced you'll end up getting luck out of retirement or doing something ridiculous.
Yeah, but luck,
cynical, Paul.
If Luck comes back, he has to go back to the Colts, doesn't he?
Not anymore.
Not anymore. No, only last season.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
last year to do that.
But unless Andrew Luck's willing to pay for £1 million a year, he's not coming back.
No, I don't think he's coming back. I don't think it's happening.
That's not...
Biggest losers besides the Texans? I don't know.
I just want to put the Texans 3 times. They're not that bad.
I don't know.
We have Texans.
I think you've got the Jags and the Rams that can go in there as well. They both seem to be franchises that are just imploding. You know, they both, got carried away with 1 or 2 years' success or slight success, overpaid, overspent, overcommitted to a kind of way of working, and they've both imploded. They've basically got no money and no players.
How have the Jags only got $8 million of cap space?
Still overpaying lots of players.
It's absolutely ridiculous.
You must have given Eli Manning some send-off party.
I'm gonna throw the Detroit Lions into losers as well, losing Darius Slay, cornerback, and signing a whole load of players who I just think are going to be bang average.
They signed 3 Patriots players. That never works, right?
Yeah, I think Patricia's going to be the first coach to go this year.
Oh, we said that last year, and all the players.
Yeah, I didn't believe it last year.
He's the worst human being that they've worked with.
Yeah, he's not getting much love at the moment. They signed Chase Daniel though, so that's something.
Didn't Darius Slay say that he balled out one of the players for not knowing what year Ford Field was made?
Yeah.
The whole room.
Apparently, his sense of humour is shit as well. That matters, but yeah.
He's not head coach material. It's not going to work. He's a very good coordinator, a very good position coach. He's not a head coach. It's a bit like, I think, at the Texans, Bill O'Brien's a decent head coach. He's a rubbish GM.
Yeah.
Awful GM. And the Texans for me are the biggest losers out of this.
I think with Matt Patricia, we're looking at him as the next Wade Phillips in terms of he's a defensive genius and he'll go on to be a good defensive coordinator somewhere else, but he is not a head coach.
No, I would agree. I think that's a fair point. Anybody got any other business they want to bring to the table before we bring this week's edition to a close? Anything you feel we've missed?
The Bills, they're a winner. I think they've done well.
That is an awesome looking team that they've put together, I have to say. I think the wide receiving unit's going to be really good. It's exactly what Josh Allen needs. And yeah, he was so bad in the last game of last season in that playoff game. He was terrible. But other than that, he was really good last year. Like, we shouldn't forget that. He's outplaying Darnold. Easily outplaying Darnold.
Oh yeah, definitely. Baltimore Ravens is another winner.
Sorry?
Yeah.
Baltimore Ravens is another winner, bringing in Calais Campbell, franchise tagging Judon.
Jimmy Smith signed again today. And I know he only plays half the games every season, but he's one of the best cornerbacks in the league.
And it's pretty cheap as well, $6 million for a decent cornerback as well.
$6 million for 8 games is what you're playing for. He never plays more than half.
But that's not.
And the Colts bringing in Buckner. Pretty sweet.
Yeah. We said last week, basically just running fast against the set. You just wanted to bring that up to watch Gary shake his head, right?
I can't say it's a good thing because they've also brought in Rivers, but they re-signed Costanzo, didn't they? So
yeah,
it's protecting their franchise quarterback.
That's such a bad move. DeForest Buckner, when we get to the team of the 2020s, DeForest Buckner's going to be in that team. I guarantee you.
It's not a bad move, though. Not for the 49ers.
Oh, did we mention last week that Case Keenum had signed for the Browns?
Yes.
Did we go through it? Now, what else have the Browns done?
They've done some great work, the Browns.
They have made some really good moves, actually.
And I think we concluded by saying that they're still going to fuck it up. If you moved all those players to another town, it'd be great, but...
All I wanted to say was it's so under the radar, which is the opposite to this time last year when they were just throwing money. And I really hope it works this year. The under the radar, sign the right players, not the flashy players. It could
Jack
be good.
Conklin.
Yeah.
Really
Janovic, the fullback.
Does
Hooper.
Anyone want to take me up? Anyone want to take me up on my bet that Keenum is playing more games than Mayfield?
No.
Not the slightest.
No?
Too much equity in Mayfield to move away from him.
Kevin Stefanski was Keenum's coordinator when he had his really good year. And I don't think they trust Baker Mayfield. He wasn't very good last year.
That's because he had a bad system around him last year.
Yeah, bad everything. I still think he's a really talented player. I just wonder if Keenum's going to walk in and make them realise how far behind Baker is in his development. No, there's not a lot of love for that. That's fine.
No, sorry.
Did you mention Gurley last week as well?
That only happened this week, John.
But he's gone to the Falcons, hasn't he?
I don't know if we covered it last week or not.
We covered him leaving.
It only happened this week.
It happened end of last week.
What sort of money did he get to replace Devontae Freeman at the Falcons?
I'm just looking it up.
I'm going to say good money.
I'm going to say.
I think it was pretty similar to Melvin Gordon's, wasn't it? It was about 6 or 7 million a year.
Yeah.
I'm going to say if that's the case, you're just as well off keeping Devonta Freeman.
But I think the Rams are still paying some of his money, aren't they?
Yeah, the Rams are paying a lot of his money.
Was I not right in thinking that if they hadn't given him an extension, he'd have just come to the end of his rookie deal and walked away?
Yeah.
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 Yes, exactly. So Todd Gurley is on a 1 year, $6 million contract with the Falcons, but he's also picking up about $10 million from the Rams this year.
It's crazy money. I'm not sure he's got anything left either. I think he's just unluckily one of those players whose knees are done. Yeah,
but I probably agree with you, but I'd probably take a punt on him as well. He's 26 years old. He's got pedigree as being a great player, and you're paying him $6 million. Yeah, I'll give that a go.
Worth the punt.
Yeah.
It's going to be an upgrade on Freeman. If not, it's going to be the same level.
Yeah, I'm not sure it's a massive upgrade on Freeman. We'll see. I'm not sold on it yet. He was such a disappointment last year.
But it's not a downgrade on Freeman, who was even more of a disappointment.
The Rams' offensive line was pretty bad last year as well.
Well, the whole team was pretty. But the only good players were Julio Jones and Matt Ryan, which they will continue to be.
True.
That team will always have something to rely on if they've got those two, but it's what other pieces you put in around them. Dan Quinn, is he still there? Or have I missed something there? So they kept Dan Quinn, right? I was trying to look it up while we were talking, but I couldn't find it. Is he right behind Matt Patricia in who's going to be first out this year? Because they say came so close to bidding him off last year. So close.
They had an upturn at the end of the year, though, didn't they? When he went home and sort of rejigged the coaches to fit better. So
yeah, they sacked a load of position coaches, didn't they?
And repositioned them as well. So let's see. I don't think his seat is as hot as Patricia's.
You know, a lot of people call Patricia with hot seats.
No.
You do. Yeah, you do. Right. Anybody got anything else before I close business for this week?
NFL Game Pass is free at the moment. Peyton's Places is a good series to watch about the history of the NFL. I'm really enjoying it.
It's his birthday today.
Is it really?
44.
You have a sing for him?
No.
No. Okay. We will try and get some other content out while we're all in shutdown. It's going to be up for discussion. There are one or two other things being written and done. So hopefully we can carry on making this work and reconvene throughout our periods of isolation to bring people more entertainment to keep us all from going absolutely insane, including the five of us, because it will be weighing heavily on all of us. Really just from me, I'm wishing us all the very best for all of us and our associated families, because it is a weird, freaky and scary time to be alive. It just is. I don't know. There's no other way of putting it. There's no more serious thing in our lifetime. This is Spanish flu from 1919 all over again if we don't get it right. So, respect to everybody for doing their best and, stay safe. Thank you very much for listening if you have been, and tune in again soon. And we will see you all another time on the Snap UK podcast. Bye-bye.
Bye.